Hi guys, I wanted to talk about something I'm really passionate about, and that is the realm of feelings, specifically validating feelings and how crucial it is for our children. And by doing so, we can really set them up for success and really build on their self-esteem. There's a quote that I came across recently that goes, "The way we talk to our children becomes their inner voice." This might be a given, right? Parents realize that they affect what their children do, but sometimes the idea of feelings doesn't really get put into that. In other words, how we talk to our kids about feelings is something that most people don't realize is so crucial to their emotional well-being. And so I'll explain. Most parents' intentions are to be the best they can be for their kids, set them up for success, to make them, people who can take on anything, in a world that there's ups and downs. I want my child to deal with whatever's thrown at them. Sometimes, though, we go about this thinking that we need to raise these tough kids, kids who have thick skin and really, don't get upset about a lot. Because I get that makes sense where we think that would raise somebody who can deal with what goes on. Sadly, though, it's very much the opposite. What I mean by that is embracing all feelings, negative and really sensitive ones that are kind of tough, is really the key to setting your child up for being successful in dealing with all types of things. Okay, and that means if you have like a super sensitive child, allowing them to be that way, not trying to change them and make them tougher because you want them to be okay with where they're at, first and foremost, and I'll explain. So realizing that the way that we talk to our children about feelings is going to have a huge impact on how they deal with future situations. And, for the most part, we're not going to be able to control everything our children goes through. So all we can do is really equip them with this mindset, this mentality, this way of thinking that allows them feeling secure in what they're feeling. So here's the thing. Really validating your child's feelings, all it has to do with you acknowledging that feeling exists. And the first way of doing this is to have the mindset that all feelings are normal, because they are, good and bad. Human beings are emotional beings. We are meant to feel. That's how we know what's going on. As a matter of fact, back in the hunter-gatherer days, our gut feeling, our instinct was how we survived, right? Because that rational part of the brain was not the strongest part back then. So we had to go based on what we were feeling. That has carried on to today. And especially as young children who don't really have that rational thinking going on yet, everything is going to be emotionally based. And so how we deal with those emotions are huge. And again, I know that sometimes it's tough to deal with certain emotions if you weren't taught how to deal with them effectively. And so we tend to continue that cycle. The cool thing is we can learn new techniques and then apply those now. So with that being said, realizing that all feelings are normal is the first mindset shift, okay? And that means when someone's upset, angry, really frustrated, all of those things are okay because they're normal. The distinction is how you react to those feelings. That's where we as adults come in and can really teach our children. So for example, you can be upset that you can't find your toy, but that doesn't mean that we hit mommy or hit little brother, okay? The feeling is still okay because that's normal. That's your child's own internal experience. But how your child deals with that feeling, right, that actual reaction, that behavior, is how you teach your child, if that makes sense. And this is how we teach them how to cope. Sadly, what ends up happening are things like, or saying things like this to your child. Don't be mad, or why are you upset right now? Get over it. It's just a toy, or we'll find it. Calm down. All of these things, while maybe the intention is not there, all of these things represent invalidation, right? Almost telling your child, why are you feeling this way? That feeling is not okay. And years of this eventually lead to not being able to cope with those kinds of feelings. We can't stop feelings from coming up. It's impossible. You can't selectively numb, as Brené Brown says. But it's really important to realize how powerful feelings can be. And when we're able to cope with them, they don't have so much control over us. All right. And so we can start this at a very young age. And so realizing the way that you talk to your children about feelings is the first step in setting them up for success. And I know it's crazy, but telling your child that it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be mad and it's okay to be frustrated sets them up for the future where when they feel those things, they now know how to deal with them effectively. I know that it's counterintuitive. You think, if I want my child to be really level-headed and not, be taken advantage of, I can't let them be sad. I can't let them get upset over stupid things. No, that would mean that that's how they're going to learn how to deal with things in the future. Couldn't be farther from the truth. We need to first teach our children that the feelings that they have are okay, so they could feel secure in knowing, okay, I'm not crazy, I'm not weird, these feelings are normal. Then we get to teach them how to deal with those feelings. Right? So it's okay that you're angry or upset. How about we take a few minutes to just breathe? How about we draw? How about we put on an awesome song and just sing really loud? Right? So again, the feeling is still okay, but let's talk about how to deal with it. So really just acknowledging and validating where they're at is huge. And something as simple as your child having a meltdown because they spilled something at the table or dropped a crayon on the floor, something as simple as that really made you upset. You didn't like how that the crayon fell on the floor. I know it sounds crazy, but it's your child's experience, and you allowing them to feel that in that moment will build the blocks for them to feel secure with themselves later on. Because let's face it, we suck at dealing with feelings. A lot of us push them down, and it's because of how we were taught to deal with them, right? Let's not dwell on the past. Let's focus on what we can do to move forward and really instill that confidence in our children by letting them feel, letting them know it's okay to be upset about that math test, and it's okay to be sad that the friends at school didn't include them, right? Then we can actually problem solve on what to do later. But first, we need our children to know that it's okay to feel. And here's what it does. What it does is set your kids up to be less susceptible to peer pressure. What it does is set your kids up to come and tell you if something is going on at school, because they were taught to come and share with you when they feel uncomfortable, right? Someone's pushing them around, you're going to hear about it. Or they've been taught to not be ashamed of certain feelings, but rather to go and tell somebody about it. Too many people nowadays don't open up about how they feel, and we know the path it leads them down, right? And so teaching our kids early that it is okay and normal to feel. All right. And so you might have to re-educate yourself first, but please, if you have kids or ever want to, know that is the first step for success. So if your little child is having a meltdown or they seem to be doing something that's really irritating you, take a step back and realize that whatever age they're at, they're having their own internal experience. Validate them where they're at. Let them know it's okay, and then take the steps from there. And it's crazy what opens up for you. It really is. And for any of you who have multiple kids, it's normal that kids deal with things differently. It doesn't matter if they were raised in the same household or not. So just consider that if one child is, more sensitive than the other, instead of, why can't you be more like your brother or sister? Why can't you just not deal with things? Realizing that allowing your child, however they feel, to feel comfortable with that feeling, so that way in the future they don't question this, why am I feeling this way, what's wrong with me, because that's where it leads. So let your kids know that what they're feeling is okay, and then teach them how to respond, how to cope. And for those of you who really want to set your kids up for success, that's the number one way, the first way, the foundation to get there. Okay, because a child who feels secure in themselves, a child who feels confident about the way that they feel, is somebody who is not ashamed, someone who doesn't hide, someone who doesn't get overly emotional because they weren't taught how to deal with emotions, and that really opens up the lines of communication to deal with things in the future. If you have more questions about this, I can go on and on. Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I know that it takes time, but small little changes can make a huge impact. So thanks again for listening, and I can't wait to share more.